may just be right. I have a trivia question for you. Who knows who the first state legislator in the world was to accept campaign donations in Bitcoin? Okay, you're right. I have no idea how they work, but I did accept them for campaign donations, and it worked out really great. So these guys will tell you the technical aspects of it, and I think you're in for a real treat. Please welcome the guys from Bitcoin.
So can I start out by seeing a show of hands? Who here doesn't really know what Bitcoin is? Raise your hand if you're not really sure what it is. I see a couple of jokers nodding, so yeah. Okay. I'll start out by explaining what Bitcoin is. First of all, Bitcoin is not a company. Bitcoin is two things. It's a money, just like dollars, euros, yen, whatever else. It's also a protocol. And it would be a little bit easier if those had two separate names, but they're both called Bitcoin for whatever reason. So, just like email is a protocol, and anyone can write software that uses email, anyone can write software to interact with the Bitcoin protocol. And using that software, you can then send and receive Bitcoins with anyone else, anywhere in the world. So it's kind of like gold, but you can send it over the internet because there's a limited supply of Bitcoin. It's hard-coded into the Bitcoin software that there will never ever be more than 21 million Bitcoins. So because there's a limited supply and they have a value, or they have a use, there is a value and a price assigned to them because of that. So with Bitcoin, you can send and receive money with anyone else, anywhere in the world, and there is absolutely nothing that any corporation or government can do to stop you or interfere with your transaction in any way. This has never existed before in the entire history of the world. So anyone that's interested in economic freedom, the thing you're interested in is Bitcoin, because it is here and it's called Bitcoin. And anybody that's interested in, anybody that thinks that you should have complete control of your own money, Bitcoin is what you've been waiting for. And thank you all for coming here to learn about Bitcoin, and we're going to do our best to explain it. There's lots and lots of intricacies about Bitcoin, and it can be a little bit difficult to wrap your head around. But the key things to know about it is that there's a limited supply, no one controls it, there's no central office, so even if governments decide they don't like Bitcoin, there's no server that they can unplug, there's no office to raid. The only thing government could do to stop Bitcoin would be to shut down the entire internet in the entire world. And if they tried to do that, even people that aren't interested in liberty or anything about that, they would be rioting in the street if they no longer had access to their Facebook profile. So at this point, Bitcoin is just unstoppable. More and more people are using it every day. It's spreading around the world. I want to thank you guys that already know Bitcoin. In the United States, New Hampshire has the highest adoption rate of Bitcoin per capita out of any of the 50 states. So thank you guys for that. And it's becoming more and more popular every day. A real popular online Bitcoin wallet that people use is called Blockchain. It took them about a year to get their first 50,000 users. It took them 1 month to get their second 50,000 users. And it's just spreading like wildfire. And more people are finding out about it every day. I'm going to pass things over to Eric to give a little more information about it there.
Hi everyone. This is fairly exciting for us to be presenting Bitcoin at a gathering like this, because usually we're traveling around the world presenting it in front of bankers and regulators and companies that are involved in normal financial systems. So we have to explain things like, well, why would you use Bitcoin? Because there's no transaction fees, and just kind of have to keep it sterile. But here we can actually talk about the more subversive aspects of it. And so that's a great relief to us, because it's hard to hide those things. So I think I'm not overstating this when I say that besides for the internet, Bitcoin is the most subversive technology on the planet. And it's important to understand that this is not just a US phenomenon. It's not just a New Hampshire thing or a US thing. This is a system that is growing around the entire world. So if it works, if this experiment continues to grow, it doesn't just help a few of us in this state or in the country, but it actually helps everyone around the world. That's why this is so important and so exciting. So last year when I was here, I remember trying to pay for a couple things with Bitcoin in the vending area. Maybe one person accepted it, and the app that I had on my phone wasn't working, so I ended up having to just pay with fiat, which makes me feel dirty. A year later, I don't know if you've noticed, but almost every single vendor in there now accepts Bitcoin. I'm seeing Bitcoin logos everywhere. The PorcFest registration gives a price in dollars and in Bitcoin. So this is just really starting to get exciting now. And I wanted to cover a few of the more interesting facts about its growth so far, because it's no longer just a little niche phenomenon, run by a few nerds in their basement. It's becoming a serious business. The current market cap of Bitcoin, which is the price of all the Bitcoins times the number of Bitcoins there are in the world, is around $350 million now. This is a larger amount than half the companies on the S&P 500. So this has become not a joke. Every single day there are over 50,000 transactions. That means 2,000 an hour, or 34 transactions every single minute are happening. Every day, 30,000 new Bitcoin addresses are created. That's like number of accounts. So every single day, 30,000 new accounts show up on a network. We don't know whose they are or what they're doing with them, and that's how it should stay. And that's one of the great things that Bitcoin offers. Currently, about $5 to $10 million worth of US fiat worth of Bitcoin is transacted every single day, and $2 million worth is traded on the exchange rates, so US dollars for Bitcoin. But Bitcoin, as I said, is not just an American phenomenon. It's happening all over the world. The Chinese yuan now, their market for Bitcoin is trading over $100,000 worth every single day. Euros are $450,000 worth of being traded every single day. Now, this is not anything big in terms of like the normal financial markets, but this is much bigger than a year ago, and is now really picking up momentum. We have markets in British pounds, Canadian dollars, Russian rubles, yen, Brazilian real. We recently discovered there's a new exchange in Singapore that we didn't even know about, which is pretty difficult for us not to know about something, but that actually happened. We see Bitcoin nodes in almost every country in the world, including Colombia, Latvia, Qatar, Uganda, Serbia, and Iran. Many places with very restrictive regimes are seeing Bitcoin nodes pop up, and that's extremely exciting for us as well. At this point, Bitcoin is starting to go mainstream, I think. It's now been covered in most of the popular press, from the New Yorker to CNN and Forbes and Bloomberg, Der Spiegel in Germany, and The Guardian over in the UK. Roger could probably talk about some of the press it's gotten over in Tokyo, but I watch the Bitcoin feeds all day long, and I'm starting to see all these Bitcoin tweets in other languages. This is very cool. The governments are starting to take notice, for better or worse, probably for worse. Last spring, the FBI released a big report about Bitcoin, kind of analyzing, how it can be used for crime. The European Central Bank released a report, which, with some remarkable candor, they admitted that people may lose faith in real money if virtual currency schemes continue to grow, and they're absolutely right about that. I think the turning point will be when people realize that the fiat they're using is already a digital currency. Bitcoin is a digital currency also, but unlike the fiat, the Bitcoin has a scarce amount. Why would you use a digital currency that's printed, at whim, when you can use a digital currency that cannot be printed? Seems pretty easy when you understand it. And we've had real fundamental growth in the business use of Bitcoin. So in November, probably the biggest event of all was when WordPress started accepting Bitcoin. They're the 22nd most visited site on the whole internet. And that was huge. But what was more interesting than just that announcement was their blog post. And they said, with Bitcoin, we join a new digital economy that doesn't leave anyone behind, essentially making financial transactions open source, something WordPress is behind 100%. So a corporation like that, which is not outwardly libertarian, is now understanding that it's important to allow open source money and privacy and access for people all over the world. So they're getting on board, and we're finding allies in very interesting places.